With so many options, why choose Arizona State University?
For me, the only online option was ASU because of the quality. Their faculty was really involved with their students and care about your personal journey. The dedication to my personal development from my professors, that's been extremely valuable to me.
Earn your degree from the nation's most innovative university. Online. That's a degree better. Explore more than 350 plus undergraduate, graduate, and certificate programs at asuonline.asu.edu.
Ready to rack to school and save big? Get to your Nordstrom Rack store today for thousands of deals from just $20.
Because I want to look fresh.
How did I not know Rack has Adidas?
I got a new backpack.
Score everyone's favorite denim, sneakers, boots, and activewear from Nike, Levi's, Steve Madden, Madewell, and Free People. Great brands, great prices. Everyone's got a reason to rack. Shop Nordstrom Rack and make it the best school year ever.
And away we go. Episode 1120 of the Al Galdi podcast. It is Monday, July 28th, 2025, and Commanders receiver Terry McLaurin has reported to 2025 Commanders training camp, though still with no contract extension. But the team early Sunday morning announced that he had been reinstated from the reserve/did not report list and placed on the active/physically unable to perform list. This due to an ankle injury. I wonder if the antidote for that ankle injury might be a contract extension. But McLaurin has reported to camp. He's no longer being fined $50,000 per day for missing camp. And we now enter into a new phase of the Terry McLaurin situation. Hello and welcome to this Monday installment of the Al Galdi podcast, on which we talk Commanders on every episode, no matter the time of year. New episodes of this podcast 5 days per week, Monday through Friday, with each episode out by 5 a.m. Eastern, and often so much earlier. If you are a Commanders fan, you can count on this podcast being there when you wake up. We appreciate you making this podcast part of your routine. Next segment, reaction to and discussion of Terry McLaurin reporting to camp and what would seem to be a case of his holdout becoming a hold-in. Does this mean that we're any closer to a contract extension getting done, or is this simply about not getting fined? The following segment, some thoughts on why the team released interior defensive lineman Jonathan Allen this past March, based on something that head coach Dan Quinn was asked on Friday morning and something that interior defensive lineman Daron Payne said on Friday morning. And then the segment after that, odds and ends from Commanders training camp, including the news that all-time great Redskins receiver Santana Moss will be inducted into the team's Ring of Fame, the Commanders signing safety Percy Butler to a contract extension, and notable comments from Dan Quinn on left guard Brandon Coleman and on running back Jacory Croskey-Merritt. By the way, very cool having ESPN Sports Center at Commanders training camp on Sunday morning. Anchors Hannah Storm and Jay Harris broadcasted live from camp. Among their guests, quarterback Jaden Daniels, and he, as his appearance on Sports Center started, cheered on the many fans in attendance in chanting, "Terry." Here you go.
Terry! Terry! Why are you stirring them up, man? Terry!
I was trying to do a baseball highlight. And
the man walked out.
That was just not working out.
Yeah, how about that? Jaden Daniels stirring the pot. And also showing respect to his number one receiver. And also on the show, breakdowns of the Nationals and Orioles weekends. Each team over the weekend won 2 out of 3 games. Each team over the last 3 days traded a player to a New York team. The Nats over the weekend won 2 out of 3 games at the Minnesota Twins. And the Nats late night on Saturday night announced having traded utility man Amed Rosario to the New York Yankees for 2 prospects. The O's over the weekend won 2 out of 3 games against the MLB-worst Colorado Rockies at Oriole Park at Camden Yards. And the O's on Friday afternoon announced having traded reliever Gregory Soto to the New York Mets for 2 pitching prospects. You can hit me up on X at Al Galdi. You can email me the Al algaldypodcast@yahoo.com. From Scott S. on X on the Commanders and Terry McLaurin still not having agreed on a contract extension. Right, Scott? Wanted to float something by you. Is it possible, given the way the salary cap works, that the Commanders front office is waiting until later in training camp to do a deal in order to protect against an impactful injury that would result in an unanticipated cap hit? Would that explain part of why the 49ers waited until September for a number of their extensions? Or am I giving the Commanders too much credit for 4D chess thinking? Thank you for that, Scott. And what Scott is referring to is something that we talked about on episode 1117 of this podcast. The most significant contract extension that the Commanders have gotten done since Adam Peters was hired as general manager in January 2024 was the contract extension for right guard Samuel Cosmi last year. That extension was not announced until last September 4th. Peters, prior to being hired by the Commanders, of course, was an executive for the San Francisco 49ers. The dates on which two prominent contracts for the Niners during Peters' time as Niners assistant general manager. A contract extension for edge defender Nick Bosa, September 8th, 2023. A rework contract for left tackle and former Redskin Trent Williams, September 3rd, 2024. And my point is this maybe just Adam Peters' style, that he takes his time with contract talks. But regarding the reason to not do a Terry McLaurin contract extension until September for the purpose of having ample cap room should a significant injury occur, three things. A, the Commanders already are in good cap shape. B, if the team did suffer a significant injury during training camp or the preseason, any potential acquisition to compensate for that injury almost certainly would be a lower cost acquisition given the lack of availability of high-level players in August and September. And C, what the Commanders and Terry McLaurin are negotiating is a contract extension, not a new contract. He's under contract for the 2025 season. That price is set. Now, it is possible that the resolution to this situation might include new contractual terms for the 2025 season, but there's no guarantee of that, and that does not have to be the case. Again, he is under contract for the 2025 season. By the way, we, during Dan Quinn's pre-practice press conference on Friday morning, had this exchange between Commanders insider Ben Standig and Quinn.
I know the Terry conversation is for Adam, but we're still waiting, I guess, to see what's going to happen. In general, I guess, just sort of how surprised are you that we're still here and this is still an ongoing conversation?
Yeah, I'm glad you brought it up because when there's an update to tell you, you won't have to ask. I'll tell you, and I'll be pumped about it. So, there's nothing for me to add to it, but I don't have anything to add, from when Adam was the other day. But you won't have to ask if there's an update. I'll definitely be the one to give it to you.
All right, Dan Quinn on the latest in the Terry McLaurin situation next segment. Email from Joel Charney, on a good friend of this podcast, and on the man whose question we just heard, Ben Standig, who on June 30th announced that his contract with The Athletic was not being renewed. Ben this past Tuesday announced the launch of a Substack account that already is doing very well. No surprise there, writes Joel. Hi, Al. I hope you're having a good summer. It seems that your COVID episode was mild this time around. I don't get this at all. I don't need to tell you what a great reporter Ben is, and the Commanders are a rising franchise with a national following. I know you follow sports media closely, so maybe you could explain what the heck is going on at The Athletic. It was bought by the New York Times, so that was the end of the NYT sports section. The Athletic claims it is providing a national platform for local team coverage, but continues to shed local beat writers in all sports. It's insane. I would cancel my subscription, but it comes with the NYT digital package, so there's no point. Thank you for the email, Joel. Ben was a guest on this past Tuesday's show, episode 1116. He's doing well. He's going to continue to do well. My understanding is that The Athletic is hiring a Commanders insider, and that person actually is a prominent person. The announcement is not mine to make, so I will not make the announcement. I would just say stay tuned. The Athletic had been doing terribly financially, but it now actually is doing well. A Sports Business Journal this past May 7th reported that adjusted operating profit for The Athletic for the first quarter of this year was $2.9 million, up from a loss of $8.7 million in the first quarter of 2024. That is a massive turnaround. So The Athletic clearly is doing something right. But there's no doubt we are in a very uncertain and dynamic and unpredictable media environment. One thing, though, that is crystal clear is that new/digital media is overtaking traditional/legacy media. We are seeing this in politics. We're seeing this in sports, including, without question, in the Washington, D.C. area sports media. And I'll just use Commanders coverage as an example. The most influential and informative and widely consumed Commanders content in D.C. area sports media is digital audio and video, talking about podcasts and YouTube shows. The days of the top content regarding the NFL team of Washington, D.C. being newspaper coverage or radio coverage or what is said by sportscasters on the over-the-air television stations, those days are done. No offense to any of the people working for these outlets, but the days of those outlets leading the way in terms of coverage of the football team are done. And yes, I am biased, I'll grant you that, but I have a lot to back me up on this. The best content regarding the football team, the best information, the best opinions now is digital audio and video, talking about podcasts and YouTube shows. Are you looking to upgrade the heart of your home? Whether it's time to repair your gas fireplace, modernize your hearth, or simply add more comfort and style, Nova Fireplace and Stove is Northern Virginia's go-to expert for heat, safety, and home transformation. Nova Fireplace and Stove is a family-owned, fully licensed, and insured company with over-the-top credentials, gas and electrical master's licenses, a Class A contractor's license, and a long list of 5-star reviews to back all of this up. Nova Fireplace and Stove has a beautiful showroom in Woodbridge, Virginia. That's where your dream fireplace begins. Come in and see Nova Fireplace and Stove's stunning displays, including custom fireplace glass doors and stone refacing options that can completely transform the look of your fireplace. From sleek and modern to rustic and cozy, Nova Fireplace and Stove has something for every style. And here's what else Nova Fireplace and Stove offers: gas fireplace service and repair, chimney cleaning and brickwork repair, generator installation, panel replacements and water heater repairs, smoke detectors, security lights, and more. Every job includes a free in-home estimate. And for listeners of the Al Galdi podcast, Nova Fireplace and Stove is offering $25 off any service. Just mention this ad. Nova Fireplace and Stove only works in Northern Virginia, and this knows the homes, the codes, and the people. Your satisfaction is 100% guaranteed because Nova Fireplace and Stove takes pride in every flame that is lit and every customer who is served. So stop by the showroom, see what's possible, and let Nova Fireplace and Stove help you bring warmth, safety, and style to your space. You could also visit NovaFireplaceandStove.com. Nova Fireplace and Stove, where comfort meets craftsmanship and your fireplace becomes the heart of your home. Good to have you with us. If you have never given this podcast a 5-star rating and or have never written a nice review of the podcast, please consider doing so. You on Apple Podcasts and on Spotify can both rate the podcast and write reviews. These things take like 30 seconds to do and help us out a lot when it comes to securing advertising, and we thank you very much for doing these things. The heat is on. It is hot these days in the Washington, D.C. area, and so the Commanders' training camp practice for Friday was moved up from 9 a.m. to 8 a.m., and the Commanders on Saturday morning announced updated times regarding training camp practices for Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday. These practices, the first 3 practices of 2025 Commanders training camp open to fans. The start time for each practice was moved up from 9 a.m. to 8 a.m., with parking lots for fans opening at 6:30 a.m. each day, and entrance gates for fans opening at 7 a.m. each day. Commanders head coach Dan Quinn, he does a press conference before each training camp practice. And so we on Friday morning and Sunday morning had him on each day doing a press conference that started in the 7 a.m. hour. And the Sunday morning press conference came off major news announced by the Commanders in the 7 a.m. hour on Sunday. The holdout of receiver Terry McLaurin is over. He, of course, had been holding out due to stalled contract extension negotiations, but the holdout is done. The team early Sunday morning announced that McLaurin had been reinstated from the reserve/did not report list and placed on the active/physically unable to perform list. This due to an ankle injury. And the Commanders also announced having released cornerback Fentrell Cypress II an undrafted rookie out of Florida State. So McLaurin was on the reserve/did not report list from Wednesday, July 23rd to Sunday, July 27th, but he now is on the active/physically unable to perform list due to an ankle injury, the legitimacy of which is fair to question. Is this ankle injury a phony injury to give him an excuse to not practice? Is this ankle going to magically heal if he agrees on a contract extension? And is him reporting to camp simply about not getting fined? Is he now in the midst of a hold-in as opposed to a hold-out? McLaurin was getting fined $50,000 for each day at camp that he no-showed. That fine is mandated by the collective bargaining agreement between the NFL and the NFL Players Association. My expectation going into camp was that McLaurin would hold in and not hold out. It sure would seem that we now are in the midst of him engaging in a hold-in. This was the opening statement of Dan Quinn's pre-practice press conference early Sunday morning, and then you'll hear two exchanges with Commanders insider John Keim of ESPN.
All right, good morning, everybody. I said I'd provide some updates to you when I had them, so I do have an update. Terry McLaurin has reported, and we're very happy about that. He'll start the training camp on PUP for his ankle. So on the business side, AP and the guys are still working hard with Terry and his rep on the business side of things. So while on PUP, just like we do with the other guys, he'll be working with the trainers, to get back as soon as he can. So same scenario like Sam Cosme onto the side, working there. So wanted to give you the update, and glad to open up with questions for you guys to get rolling.
Well, first of all, how good for you is it that he's even here?
It was great, and I'm really pumped that he's here, man. He's such an awesome competitor. We had a chance to spend some time together yesterday, so yeah, it was great to see him.
What do you know about the ankle injury, the severity, and when he's okay, will he participate in practices?
We don't know much today, John. I'll have some more follow-up, the medical side and them doing the assessments and see where he's at. So we'll put a better timeline together once, he kind of goes through, see where he feels at. And the one thing that we know, we have a really good process for this. Like we had said it last year, if you remember, like protecting the player is protect the team. And so we follow it, we believe in it, and we also know that it works. A return to play and what that looks like. Sometimes it's just a short time, sometimes it's longer. So once we get all the information, we'll put the whole plan in place for him, and we'll take it from there.
All right, Dan Quinn dancing around the idea of whether a healed ankle would mean that Terry McLaurin would be practicing regardless of a contract extension. We later, in Quinn's pre-practice press conference on Sunday morning, did get some insight from him on this ankle injury for McLaurin. Take a listen to this back and forth between Commanders insider Nikki Javala of the Washington Post and Dan Quinn. Although Nikki on Sunday morning announced that Sunday was her last day with the Post, going back to what we talked about in the opening segment of the show. But anyway, here you go.
Hi. During Terry's absence, what was your communication with him like, and were you aware of the ankle injury prior to today?
We knew, at the end of last season, the ankle was something that, he was dealing with as it goes. So it's not so uncommon that lingers into the off season. Yeah.
Okay, so this is something that happened during the season and he's still dealing with. Okay.
Last season, okay. Towards the end of last season. So that's not that uncommon, where it can, linger through where it's at. So that's where it's at. And as far as like communication, yes, because part of the off season being here, so I try to keep up with as many guys as I can. When the newer players get here, I'm starting on them first, as we're getting there. But Terry's easy to communicate with.
Your level of concern with the ankle, is this just more precaution, or is it, he's really got to
I don't know
slow?
yet.
Okay.
And once they go kind of put the process together for what that rehab will look like, I'll have a better sense. I just know, hey man, protect the player is protecting the team. So let's put the plan in place, and then we'll attack it from there.
So, per Dan Quinn, Terry McLaurin had an ankle ailment going back to last season. But here to me is the deal. McLaurin is in fact holding in. You, with most NFL players, can find some sort of ailment to use as an injury excuse. The injury excuse for McLaurin is the ankle. He reports to camp so as not to continue to be fined, but he gets parked on the active/physically unable to perform list while the contract extension negotiations continue, with the ankle ailment as the excuse for being on that list. And honestly, I'm not mad about this. I prefer that McLaurin hold in instead of hold out. A holdout is harsh. A holdout indicates that there's acrimony between the player and the team. A hold-in, by definition, means that there's interaction between the player and the team. It's hard to say whether the holdout becoming a hold-in means that we're closer to McLaurin and the Commanders agreeing on a contract extension, but at least he now is at camp, and, very interestingly, also at the team facility on Sunday morning was McLaurin's agent, Buddy Baker. So perhaps in-person talks between Baker and the team took place over the weekend. We on Sunday morning had this back and forth between David Aldridge of The Athletic and Dan Quinn.
Dan, how did Terry seem to you when you talked to him?
He seemed very much like himself. Terry's always a serious competitor, but a pro's pro in a lot of respects, Dave, that he's just handles things in such a right way. I wanted to really, I was checking in with the man. The other side of things are there, but to make sure in the midst of all that, just, the joy of here, teammates, togetherness, and he's built a lot, with the teammates here. And so I think that's what, people like Bobby and others were probably referencing and talking about him. Hey, that's his side of things. They know him as the teammate, and that's where the love is for them.
For those of us that don't marinate in PUP rules, what can he do and not do while he's on PUP?
So PUP is no team, no walkthroughs, no practices. It's really a focus of you count on the roster limit, but you're in let's call it like a rehab mode, to get everything ready. You can push that training to get there, but it's a kind of a build-up to get back to play.
Yeah, so McLaurin, while on this active/physically unable to perform list, is working with the team in, as Dan Quinn said, rehab mode. McLaurin, while on this list, in theory, is at the team facility during training camp practices. This whole Terry McLaurin saga is unfortunate, but it is understandable. His contract extension talks are tricky given his age. An extension would start with the 2026 season, his age 31 season, and the Commanders have the leverage in this situation. McLaurin, because of his age and nature, is highly unlikely to be willing to sit out the 2025 season. He's under contract for the 2025 season. It's not like this situation is about getting him under contract for the coming season. And the team does not have to sign him to a contract extension, especially when you consider that the team has the tool that is the franchise tag. So the Commanders very much have the leverage in this situation. But from my perspective, zero animosity toward Terry McLaurin. He's a very good player. He, as best as we can tell, is a very good person. I mean, the guy on Sunday morning signed autographs for and posed for pictures with fans for more than 30 minutes. So McLaurin did speak to reporters briefly on Sunday morning. Here's what he said about interacting with fans, and then you'll hear multiple follow-up exchanges.
I can't beat that at all, that's they've shown me a lot of love and support, and I always try to give that back, not just on the field but off the field.
What's it mean for them just being so excited to see you?
Man, it's unbelievable. That's the part that gives you joy. You kind of lose sight of some things sometimes when the business gets involved, but I never lost sight of the way they supported me and the way that I pour into them and the way they poured into me. So at the end of the day, it's business, but it has nothing to do with them. And any chance I could come out here, do what I got to do in there, but come out and show them my support and how much I love them, I'm going to always do that. I've always been that way.
To watch them on the field, how hard is that for you?
Oh, man, you're talking about
just watch the practice.
Yeah, man, it's tough, but, it's the business right now and just trying to take things day by day.
Terry, why did you want to come in today?
I'm here.
Okay, there's also this, holdouts and hold-ins and even requests to be traded. These things are just part of NFL business these days. These things in recent years have become much more common as negotiating tools for players. And by the way, I would think that McLaurin's holdout becoming a hold-in suggests that him requesting to be traded is unlikely. Can't assume that, but a hold-in is less harsh than a holdout. We on Sunday morning had this exchange involving Dan Quinn.
Over the years, holdouts can build resentment between coaches and players. Did it ever get to that a little bit for you? Is there ever a moment where you're kind of resenting that this has happened?
No, I think in that space what I've learned is you give people grace in that spot. You don't know a coach, a player, who's dealing with what, how it's affected you. So my number one goal is, keep the main thing, between players and coaches. So it's tricky and it's hard. So y'all want to, in those instances, like with Terry, I wanted to check in with the man, not the ball player. Good news, most of the time with players being around teammates, locker room, field, that is the happy place. And so being around and connected to teams, that's where most of us feel our best. And so when you're separate and by yourself, you can feel any kind of way. But being a part of a team, and specifically this team, there's a lot of energy that goes with that.
Well, the good news with Terry McLaurin is that him missing these training camp practices isn't that big of a deal from a football standpoint. He's a veteran. He knows the offense. He's coming off a great season. This situation could linger for a few more weeks, and he, to me, still would be fine in terms of preparation for the 2025 regular season. The Commanders' 2025 regular season opener is on September 7th, home to the New York Giants, Sunday afternoon, September 7th at 1. We, on Sunday morning, had this exchange between Commanders insider Ben Standig and Dan Quinn.
You guys have talked a lot over the last year since you got here about what it means to be a Commander, and you've identified that after what you went through last year. Where does what you saw from Terry, how does that fit into that whole conversation?
First word that comes to mind with him when I think of him is this is an awesome competitor. At his core, that's who he is. And that's what I think of. Sometimes you think of somebody and a word comes into your mind or a thought, and that's what comes to mind with me. That's one of those traits. There's good, and then there's excellent at something, and that's what I think of with Terry.
All right, the NACE Law Group, accident and injury lawyers. It has been a Washington, D.C. institution for decades. If you feel that you've been wronged, if you think that you've been wronged but aren't sure, contact the NACE Law Group, accident and injury lawyers, and schedule a no-obligation appointment. Call 202-902-7611 or visit WashingtonDCInjuryLawyers.com and tell the NACE Law Group that Al Galdi sent you. The NACE Law Group offers fierce advocacy on behalf of medical malpractice, birth injury, and personal injury victims. Led by the great Chris Nace, the NACE Law Group is focused on providing exceptional care and counsel for those who need such things the most. The NACE Law Group fights for what it believes in, you, your family, and your future. You with the NACE Law Group have an experienced advocate on your side. The NACE Law Group has secured millions of dollars in verdict and settlement amounts for clients to better enable them to care for themselves and their families. Call 202-902-7611 or visit WashingtonDCInjuryLawyers.com and tell the NACE Law Group that Al Galdi sent you. That's 202-902-7611 or WashingtonDCInjuryLawyers.com, and make sure that you mention that Al Galdi sent you. The NACE Law Group, accident and injury lawyers. It was this past June 4th that Commanders defensive coordinator Joe Witt Jr., during a pre-practice press conference on an OTA day, raved about interior defensive lineman Daron Payne. Do you remember that? Witt singled out Payne as an offseason standout, and then Commanders head coach Dan Quinn, during a post-practice presser on that day, had a lot of nice things to say about Payne. What kind of a 2025 season is Daron Payne going to have? Big question, of course. The 2025 season will be his 8th NFL season, but just his age 28 season of the Redskins taking him out of the University of Alabama with the number 13 overall pick in the 2018 NFL Draft. Payne was just 20 years old when he was drafted. He has been a very durable player. He had a great 2022 season, what was a contract season, but he's since signing a big money contract extension in March 2023 has been so-so at best. He has not been all bad, but he certainly has not lived up to that contract. Payne, for the 2024 regular season, had an overall grade for Pro Football Focus of just 53.7. That's below average. 60 is average. He, for last regular season, had a run defense grade for PFF of just 49.3. Now, something that's different for Daron Payne is that his fellow Alabama product, interior defensive lineman Jonathan Allen, is gone. The Commanders on March 7th announced having released Allen, and he ended up signing with the Minnesota Vikings as an unrestricted free agent in a deal that was announced on March 11th. And I bring all of this up due to some things that were and were not said at Commanders training camp this past Friday morning. We begin with this exchange between Commanders insider J.P. Finley of NBC4 and Dan Quinn during Quinn's pre-practice press conference on Friday morning.
A lot of this predates your time here, but Daron and John Allen were drafted back-to-back first-rounders from Bama, and they were always kind of like brought up together. What, if any, differences have you noticed with Daron, with John gone? Just vocal?
That'd probably be a better one for Daron. I want to tell his story, because I wasn't here during when they're, like you said, coming through together. But what I can say is that, man, is he really on it. Like, he's been absolutely going for it the entire spring. There's an energy about him and a discipline that he's really ready to go take it on.
Okay, so Dan Quinn, more high praise for Daron Payne, but there also was the question from J.P. Finley. And not to put words in J.P.'s mouth, but I would bet a good bit of money that the root of that question, the basis for that question, is the idea that the time had come for John Allen to go, and that the releasing of Allen may be addition by subtraction. We later on Friday morning had this exchange during a post-practice press conference for Daron Payne. Here you go.
Hey, Daron. In minicamp or OTAs, you were talking about taking on more of a leadership role. First training camp for you without JA. Like, is that starting to set in? I guess, how is that developing?
So I'm kind of a guy that just do my own thing. Like, I really don't need anybody to set the tone for me. I set the tone for myself.
All right, Daron Payne on his first NFL training camp without John Allen. Payne, quote, "I really don't need anybody to set the tone for me. I set the tone for myself," end quote. Payne did not say, yeah, we're going to do well, but I do miss John and wish him well. No, Payne made it clear that he never needed Allen for any kind of tone setting. Quote, "I really don't need anybody to set the tone for me. I set the tone for myself," end quote. That was almost a defiant answer by Payne. And it made me think about the Commanders' releasing of John Allen, who, let's be clear, was overall a really good player for Washington. The Redskins took Allen out of Alabama with the number 17 overall pick in the 2017 NFL Draft. Allen has the following rankings in regular season franchise history. Number 2 in tackles for loss at 60. Number 2 in quarterback hits at 118. And number 10 in sacks per Pro Football Reference at 42. Sacks did not become an official NFL statistic until 1982, but Pro Football Reference in July 2021 updated the site stats to reflect sacks that were accumulated for the 1960 through 1981 season. So by that standard, John Allen, number 10 in franchise history in regular season sacks. But John Allen is one of the best interior defensive linemen in Washington history. Dave Butts is number 1. I'd say that Dyron Talbert is number 2. But Allen, to me, is top 5. However, one of the things about the Commanders releasing John Allen that really stuck out to me, and we talked about this at the time, was that they clearly were done with Allen. Like, they were not interested in having him back. The reporting was that Allen had asked the Commanders for a contract extension, but that they did not want to give him one and thus granted him permission to seek a trade. But teams anticipated the Commanders releasing Allen, so there was not much of a trade market for him. It was telling, though, that the Commanders had no interest in signing Allen to a contract extension, even though they had a lot of salary cap space. The team clearly wanted to part with Allen. They were done with him. You really got that sense in how the team went about this. And something that has come up a decent amount now is that John Allen, while he did a lot of good things for Washington, wasn't necessarily the presence behind the scenes who he had been built up to be. This has been intimated, if not flat out said, by people who cover the team. If not on the record, then off the record, and I can vouch for that. And the deal is that Allen was opinionated and said a lot of stuff. But what came to be the case was that he internally was not viewed as the leader who he had been built up to be, and perhaps was at one point. Do you remember the incident between John Allen and Daron Payne? December 26, 2021, Washington got humiliated. A 56-14 loss at the Dallas Cowboys on Sunday Night Football. The 42-point loss was Washington's worst loss ever to the Cowboys. And we, during the second quarter of the game, had the fight, the scuffle, the skirmish, the, dare I say, dust-up between John Allen and Daron Payne. They got into a scuffle on the Washington sideline. Payne put a finger in Allen's face. Allen threw a punch at Payne, and the entire thing was shown on national television during NBC's telecast of the game. A terrible look for the team on a terrible night for the team. The incident was quickly downplayed, and a lot of people, fans and media members, were quick to say that the incident was not a big deal. This is not that big of a deal. And look, I never thought that the incident necessarily meant that Allen and Payne hated each other, but what happened was not normal. Two teammates going back to college getting into a sideline skirmish like that. And in hindsight, I do wonder if the impetus for that skirmish was Payne being sick of the barking of Allen. In other words, hey, John, yeah, we're getting destroyed in this game, but you're part of this defense too, so stop yelling at us, shut your mouth, and play better. You know, that kind of thing. And there to me was this woe is me act that Allen put on during the 2023 season. Allen in the 2023 regular season did this woe is me thing that to me became off-putting, especially considering that the 2023 season was his fifth season as a captain for the team. Allen, in a post-game session with reporters following the Commanders' 14-7 loss at the New York Giants on October 22nd, 2023, sounded off about being, quote, tired, end quote, of losing with Washington. Allen, in an appearance on the Sports Junkies on 106.7 The Fan on December 4th, 2023, expressed an openness to being traded by the Commanders. Allen, during the 2023 season, what was a wretched season for the team, of course, did a lot more woe is me than he did leading in what was, again, his fifth season as a captain for Washington. And so in hearing that question from J.P. Finley for Dan Quinn on Friday morning, and in hearing that exchange during Daron Payne's post-practice press conference on Friday morning, I do think that we got more of a window into why the Commanders released John Allen this past offseason. Does it mean that he overall wasn't a really good player for Washington? Does it mean that he's some awful human being? But it does appear as if it was time for a parting of the ways. Going to be very interesting to see how he does with the Vikings, who did give him good money. A reported 3-year, $51 million contract with $23.255 million fully guaranteed at signing. Ingrained Floor Covering Solutions, which provides residential and commercial carpet and wood flooring solutions for the Washington, D.C. metropolitan area, and has been doing so for 2 generations and over 40 years. Ingrained Floor Covering Solutions is a full-service wood flooring and carpet provider. Wood floor cleaning, refinishing, and installation, carpet repair, carpet installation, and custom rug fabrication. Excellent and reliable work. And Ingrained Floor Covering Solutions self-performs all installations. No subcontractors. The person who you meet on the initial consultation or measurement will be the same person doing the actual work. The wood flooring in our house has taken quite a beating from our 2 small kids. This is exactly the kind of thing that Ingrained Floor Covering Solutions can fix. High-level wood floor cleaning and refinishing, screen and recoat, sand and finish, etc. And here's a special deal for listeners of this podcast. Visit ingrainedfs.com, mention that Al Galdi sent you, and you'll get a 10% discount. That's ingrainedfs.com. Mention that Al Galdi sent you, and you'll get a 10% discount. More now from Commanders training camp, a few odds and ends from Friday and Sunday. The team on Sunday morning announced that Santana Moss will be inducted into the team's Ring of Fame. This during the Commanders' 2025 regular season opener, which is against the New York Giants at Northwest Stadium on Sunday afternoon, September 7th at 1. Well-deserved honor for Moss, who is one of the best receivers in franchise history. Moss played for the Redskins for the 2005 through 2014 seasons. He is number 3 in franchise history in regular season receptions, is number 4 in franchise history in regular season receiving yards, and is number 7 in franchise history in regular season receiving touchdowns. And him being inducted into the team's Ring of Fame on September 7th will happen nearly 20 years to the day of the Monday Night Miracle, September 19th, 2005, a 14-13 Skins win at the Dallas Cowboys on Monday Night Football in a game in which Moss caught touchdown bombs of 39 and 70 yards from quarterback Mark Brunell deep in the fourth quarter as the Skins overcame a 13-0 fourth quarter deficit. Santana Moss did a press conference on Sunday morning. This was him on his reaction to being honored by the team via being inducted into its Ring of Fame.
I mean, I can't even describe it, man. Honestly, it's a feeling like no other. I haven't had this much emotion build up in me in a long time. I was telling somebody, I was jokingly talking to someone about last time I boohoo cried this much is when I lost somebody. So, man, trust me, I'm overwhelmed with joy right now. But it's a hell of a feeling, man. Honestly, I think when you look back at it, because I've been looking back at it since they told me, it's gratifying just to know, man, that you're going to be appreciated. I'm one of those guys. I got enough friends, family, and people who really love me and care about me that gives me all I need when it comes from love, that I don't look for much from folks, but to be remembered in this way from this organization, yeah, I love the feeling.
Yeah, very happy for Santana Moss. You can tell that this honor means a lot to him. Also, the Commanders on Friday afternoon officially announced having signed safety Percy Butler to a contract extension, what reportedly is a one-year contract extension. The 2025 season had been set to be the final season of Butler's 4-year rookie contract. Percy Butler in the 2024 regular season played in all 17 of the Commanders' games, played on 36.84% of the team's defensive snaps, and played on 62.61% of the team's special team snaps. He was number 4 on the team in special team snaps. The Commanders took Butler out of the University of Louisiana at Lafayette in the 4th round of the 2022 NFL Draft. So he is a survivor from the Ron Rivera era. Butler was part of the 3rd of 4 draft classes for the team, with Rivera as head coach in charge of player personnel. The Commanders did not hold a training camp practice on Saturday, so we over the last few days had training camp practices on Friday morning and Sunday morning. The Friday morning practice was dominated by the defense. Friday morning, not a good morning for the offense. Things were better for the offense on Sunday morning, including a spectacular touchdown catch by receiver Jalen Lane during 2-minute drills. Quarterback Jaden Daniels fired a pass to Lane in double coverage in the end zone, and Lane made the catch. We do not get too caught up in how the offense is doing versus how the defense is doing this early in camp, but it was good to see the offense be better on Sunday morning. Sunday marked the start of certain practices at 2025 Commanders training camp being open to fans. There are not many of these practices, but the team's practices on Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday are open to fans. So Sunday morning's practice was open to fans as part of the NFL's Back Together weekend. Monday morning's practice is open to certain season ticket holders, and Tuesday morning's practice is open to all fans. Although all of these Commanders training camp practices that are open to fans are sold out. Tickets were free, but the tickets went fast. Here was head coach Dan Quinn during his pre-practice press conference on Sunday morning on what he wanted to see from the Commanders over Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday.
More just our relentless attitude to get better. And that's where you keep pushing, you find this connecting of competing against one another over and over again. As it goes, there's more plays, so the first day, this amount of plays, second, a little bit more, third, a little bit more. So the playbook expands, and you want to see who can stay locked, who can stay in it. There's going to be some mistakes, no doubt about it, but you do want to see who can handle the amount of the install as it goes. So, yeah, it'll be a fun 3-day block, one of them that will include padded, and that's a different evaluation for the big guys.
Yes, the first padded practice of 2025 Commanders training camp is coming and will make for a good chance to evaluate, say, Brandon Coleman, who's transitioning from left tackle to left guard and who drew high praise from Dan Quinn during his pre-practice press conference on Friday morning. Take a listen.
Brandon's work ethic is really sets him apart, and so he's thoughtful. He wants to ask questions, and Tyler's that way in a sense too. And I'm still getting to learn Laramie, but to have two guys that have been in the fights together, right side by side next to one another, the best offensive lines really can communicate well. And I love how much time I see these guys spend together on the field, off the field, support one another. So from Brandon moving from outside to inside, for guys like Nick Allegretti, he's the greatest teammate you can have. He's just all in with you. And so he's an example of somebody that Brandon can also talk to. What about this technique? What about that look? And you have to figure some of it out on your own. Not every technique works for every single player, but Brandon's thoughtful enough to say, okay, this is what works for me.
Well, you think about Brandon Coleman, second-year NFL player transitioning from left tackle to left guard and doing so while in between Laramie Tunsil at left tackle and Tyler Biadasz at center. A pretty good spot for Coleman. He's sandwiched between two very good players. The padded practice is a practice at which you can truly evaluate offensive and defensive linemen. The padded practice also is a practice at which you can truly evaluate running backs. And there right now is a lot of Jacory Croskey-Merritt buzz. The Commanders took running back Jacory Croskey-Merritt out of the University of Arizona in the 7th round of the 2025 NFL Draft. During Dan Quinn's pre-practice press conference on Friday morning, had this exchange between 7 News DC sports director Scott Abraham and Quinn.
Morning, Dan.
Morning.
We've talked about it. The running back room is deep. You got some players in that room, specifically Jacory Croskey-Merritt. How does he jump out to you, and how does he fit into that room?
Yeah, at that position, like I said, it's a hard one to evaluate in non-pads because you don't know if did the person make the tackle, did he break the tackle, and so it's offensive line, defensive line, and running backs are sometimes the hardest. But what you can evaluate is the explosion on the cut, the assignment, was the read correct, and having Anthony here is a really big deal, from a running back standpoint. He's got so much experience, can give the insight to the players to absolutely get them right. But I think it's the violence of the cuts, that he can get his shoulders square and get downhill fast. So I'm very excited to see, once we get into some opportunities where does he get tackled, does he not, does he run through some? So, but he's off to a really good start.
And those opportunities are coming. And as you likely know, the Anthony, to whom Dan Quinn referred, is Commanders' run game coordinator / running backs coach, Anthony Lynn.
Society doesn't want to talk about menopause. And when they do, they don't make it sound very pretty. So Walgreens is helping women change the perception and take back the narrative. Because nothing is sexier than being in control. Menopause is confidence. Menopause is power. Menopause is hot. Let's frame menopause together. Watch the Menopause is Hot story at walgreens.com/hot.
Between vacations, errands, and everyday summer chaos, sticking to your health goals can be tough. Luckily, Thrive Market does the hard work for you. We're the online healthy grocery store that cuts out the junk ingredients and delivers high-quality groceries right to your door. From low-sugar beach snacks to organic grill night staples, no matter your health goal, we make shopping healthy a breeze. Go to thrivemarket.com/podcast for 30% off your first order and a free $60 gift.
Well, the Nationals now have won back-to-back series for the first time since winning 2 out of 3 games at the Los Angeles Angels from June 27th through the 29th and winning 2 out of 3 games against the Detroit Tigers at Nationals Park over July 2nd and July 3rd. The Nats won 2 out of 3 games against the Cincinnati Reds at Nationals Park this past Monday through Wednesday, and the Nats won 2 out of 3 games at the Minnesota Twins over the weekend. Friday night, a 1-0 loss at the Twins for the Nats' 9th shutout loss in MLB's 2025 regular season. but Saturday night a 9-3 win at the Twins, and Sunday afternoon a 7-2 win at the Twins. So the Nats in this regular season now are 43-62. Second worst record in the National League. More on the Nats winning 2 out of 3 games at the Twins in a bit. But we have arrived at the week of the 2025 MLB trade deadline, which is this Thursday, July 31st at 6 p.m. Eastern, and the Nats have made their first of what could be many trades in the lead-up to this deadline. The Nats late night on Saturday night announced having traded utility man Amed Rosario to the New York Yankees for 2 prospects in reliever Clayton Beeter and outfielder Braum Martinez. Braum, B-R-O-W-M, unique first name. Clayton Beeter, he was the Yankees' number 20 overall prospect per MLB Pipeline. Braum Martinez is just 18 years old, is in just his second professional season. The Yankees signed him as an international free agent in January 2024. Amed Rosario overall did a nice job with the Nats. They this past January 8th announced having agreed with Rosario as a free agent on a 1-year contract. The deal reportedly was worth just $2 million, but Rosario for the Nats in this regular season, over 158 plate appearances, had an OPS of 736. Pretty good for a part-time player. Now, he did struggle defensively. He this regular season for the Nats over a combined 301 and 2/3 innings at third base and second base, registered -6 defensive runs saved per Sports Info Solutions. But turning a player on a 1-year, $2 million contract into 2 prospects, one of whom was a top 20 prospect for the Yankees, is good. Rosario, to me, actually is the biggest hit from the Nats free agent class this past offseason. Now, that says a lot about a lot because the free agent class overall, not good, and is part of why Nats managing principal owner Mark Lerner on July 6th fired president of baseball operations and general manager Mike Rizzo, in addition to firing manager Davey Martinez. But a salute to Amed Rosario for his service. And now we'll see how many other trades Nats interim GM Mike DeBartolo makes in the lead up to this deadline. Given the state of this Nats season, given the state of this Nats rebuild, there is no reason for DeBartolo not to try to trade every Nats player on an expiring contract. And when it comes to a certain Nats player not on an expiring contract, starting pitcher Mackenzie Gore, well, we now know that the Chicago Cubs are interested. Patrick Mooney and Sahadev Sharma of The Athletic, they in a piece that came out on Saturday had the following, quote, "The Cubs are very interested in Mackenzie Gore, a top-of-the-rotation arm under team control through 2027. A blockbuster deal with the Washington Nationals would set the Cubs up for the playoffs and eliminate an offseason need. The cost to acquire Gore, however, is currently viewed as sky high. It's also unclear whether Washington's interim general manager Mike DeBartolo is really in a position to make such a monumental decision," end quote. As I have been saying, whether the Nats should trade Mackenzie Gore depends on how they view the rebuild. If they view the rebuild as salvageable, then they should keep Mackenzie Gore because he's a foundational piece. But if the Nats view the rebuild as a failure and thus need to start the rebuild over, then they should be open to trading Mackenzie Gore in the lead up to this deadline. Now, of course, what the Nats are being offered for Gore matters a lot. And of course, there is this complicating factor of Mike DeBartolo being the interim GM. He may not be the team's GM beyond this season. So what if DeBartolo traded Gore, the Nats did not have DeBartolo as the GM moving forward, and the guy who ends up being the GM comes in and says, "What'd you trade Gore for?" I would have never done that deal. The Nats on Sunday morning announced having recalled infielder Jose Tena from AAA Rochester as a replacement for Amed Rosario. And the Nats over the weekend won 2 out of 3 games at the Twins as the Nats offense came alive over the final 2 games of the series. So the 1-0 loss at the Twins on Friday night, the Nats were shut out for a second consecutive game. They scored no runs, totaled just 3 hits, worked just 1 walk, and went 0 for 3 with runners in scoring position. The 3 hits were 2 doubles and a single. Twins starting pitcher Zebby Matthews, the immortal Zebby Matthews, he tossed 6 scoreless innings with 7 strikeouts versus no walks. Zebby Matthews came into that game with an ERA of 6.26 over 5 major league starts this regular season. But the 9-3 win at the Twins on Saturday night, the Nats scored 9 runs, totaled 12 hits, worked 2 walks, and went 4 for 11 with runners in scoring position. The 12 hits were 2 home runs, 2 doubles, and 8 singles, and the Nats did this with the Twins starting pitcher being Joe Ryan. He allowed 5 runs, 4 earned in 5 innings. Joe Ryan came into that game with an ERA of 2.63 over 20 games, including 19 starts in this regular season. So Friday night, the Nats got worked by Zebby Matthews. Saturday night, the Nats had their way with the great Joe Ryan. Go figure. And then the 7-2 win at the Twins on Sunday afternoon. The Nats scored 7 runs, totaled 11 hits, worked 4 walks, and went 3 for 13 with runners in scoring position. So the run total could have been much higher. The 11 hits were a home run, a triple, and 9 singles. Some big hits for C.J. Abrams in this series. He was the Nats starting shortstop and number 1 batter in each of the 3 games in the series. Now, the 1-0 loss at the Twins on Friday night, Abrams went 0 for 4 with 2 strikeouts, dropping his OPS for this month to just .596. But the 9-3 win at the Twins on Saturday night, Abrams went 1 for 5 with a 3-run double. Abrams in a Nats 3-run fifth had a bases-loaded first pitch, 3-run double to the right field corner for a 5-0 Nats lead. In the 7-2 win at the Twins on Sunday afternoon, Abrams went 2 for 3 with a solo homer, a single, and 2 hit by pitches. And he went 3 for 3 on stolen bases. Did commit a fielding error, but we can forgive that. Abrams in the Nats 1-run first had a leadoff first pitch home run to right center field for a 1-0 Nats lead. The homer went a projected 418 feet per Statcast. And Abrams in the Nats 1-run third basically scored a run on his own. He had a leadoff single into right field and had 2 stolen bases. He scored on a 1-out RBI sac fly by Luis Garcia Jr. for a 2-1 Nats lead. C.J. Abrams for this regular season is number 2 among all qualified Nats players in OPS at 815. Number 1 is James Wood at 868, but he is really struggling right now. Wood was the Nats starting left fielder and number 2 batter in each of the 3 games in this series. The 1-0 loss at the Twins on Friday night, Wood went 0 for 4 with 3 strikeouts. The 9-3 win at the Twins on Saturday night, Wood went 0 for 4 with a walk and 3 strikeouts. And the 7-2 win at the Twins on Sunday afternoon, Wood went 0 for 4 with a walk and 4 strikeouts. James Wood for this month of July has an OPS of just .576, and he's striking out a ton. He had been having such a great season. He overall still is having a really good season, but his July has been bad. A Nats player having a good July is Josh Bell. Bell in the 7-2 win at the Twins on Sunday afternoon as the Nats starting DH and number 4 batter went 3 for 4 with an RBI single, 2 other singles, and a walk. Bell for this month of July has an OPS of .949. He is a veteran on a 1-year contract. He absolutely should be traded by the Nats in the coming days if there's a market for him. The Nats, in winning 2 out of 3 games at the Twins over the weekend, got good starting pitching in each of the 3 games. The 1-0 loss at the Twins on Friday night, Mackenzie Gore allowed 1 run in 5 innings, despite issuing a whopping 6 walks and 2 wild pitches. But he gave up just 1 hit, which was a single. He recorded 4 strikeouts. He, over his mere 5 innings, did throw 101 pitches, just 55 strikes versus 46 balls. Gore was coming off a terrible outing, the 8-1 loss to the San Diego Padres at Nationals Park on July 20th. Gore in that game allowed 8 runs in 2 and a third innings. He on Friday night had his issues, but ultimately the run prevention was there, 1 run in 5 innings. The 9-3 win at the Twins on Saturday night, Mitchell Parker was good for a second consecutive start. He allowed 2 runs in 5 2/3 innings despite giving up 8 hits, which were 3 doubles and 5 singles. He had 4 strikeouts versus 1 walk, and he threw a lot of strikes, 99 pitches, 71 strikes, just 28 balls. So Parker had just 1 clean inning, which was the bottom of the second, but 2 runs in 5 2/3 innings is good, and he did this off in the 4-2 win over the Padres at Nationals Park on July 19th, allowing 2 runs in 6 innings. Parker had been struggling prior to these last 2 starts. And the 7-2 win at the Twins on Sunday afternoon, Jake Irvin, a native of Minnesota, allowed 2 runs in 7 innings. He gave up just 5 hits, which were a home run, a double, and 3 singles. He issued no walks. He recorded just 2 strikeouts, but he threw a lot of strikes, 86 pitches, 63 strikes, just 23 balls, and he was very pitch efficient. He over 7 innings threw just 86 pitches. Irvin had not been doing well lately, but he on Sunday afternoon was terrific, and Irvin for this regular season is number 1 on the Nats in innings pitched, 126 and 2/3. And the Nats bullpen in the team winning 2 out of 3 games at the Twins over the weekend was good. The 1-0 loss at the Twins on Friday night, 4 Nats relievers combined for 3 scoreless innings. The 9-3 win at the Twins on Saturday night, 3 Nats relievers combined to allow 1 run in 3 1/3 innings. And the 7-2 win at the Twins on Sunday afternoon, 2 Nats relievers combined for 2 scoreless innings. How about the work of this guy, Connor Pilkington? The Nats this past Tuesday afternoon announced having selected the contract of Pilkington from AAA Rochester and having option reliever Mason Thompson to Rochester. Pilkington signed with the Nats as a minor league free agent on December 3rd, 2024. He had the 1-0 loss at the Twins on Friday night. Was a fireman. He put out the fire, faced 1 batter, got 1 out. He threw 2 pitches and got the 1 out. He came into the game in the bottom of the 6th with the bases loaded, 2 outs, and the Nats down 1-0. And he induced a flyout by Matt Wallner for the 3rd out, and Pilkington in the 7-2 win at the Twins on Sunday afternoon tossed a scoreless bottom of the 8th despite giving up a 2-out single. Next up for the Nats is a 3-game series at the American League West leading Houston Astros. Game 1 Monday night at 8:10, Brad Lord will be the Nats starting pitcher. Game 2 Tuesday night at 8:10, Michael Soroka will be the Nats starting pitcher. Game 3 Wednesday afternoon at 2:10, Mackenzie Gore will be the Nats starting pitcher.
You just realized that you needed to hire someone yesterday. How can you find amazing candidates fast? Easy. Just use Indeed. When it comes to hiring, Indeed is all you need. Stop struggling to get your job posts seen on other job sites. Indeed's sponsored jobs help you stand out and hire fast. With sponsored jobs, your post jumps to the top of the page for your relevant candidates so you can reach the people that you want faster. And it makes a huge difference. According to Indeed data, sponsored jobs posted directly on Indeed have 45% more applications than non-sponsored jobs. Plus, with Indeed sponsored jobs, there's no monthly subscriptions, no long-term contracts, and you only pay for results. How fast is Indeed? Well, in the minute I've been talking to you, 23 hires were made on Indeed, according to Indeed data worldwide. There's no need to wait any longer. Speed up your hiring right now with Indeed. And listeners of this show will get a $75 sponsored job credit to get your jobs more visibility at Indeed.com/BWN. Just go to Indeed.com/BWN right now and support our show by saying that you heard about Indeed on this podcast. Indeed.com/BWN. Terms and conditions apply. Hiring? Indeed is all you need.
Learning a new language opens the door to new friends, new cultures, and maybe even a whole new life. So why not start the journey today? There's over a dozen languages available to learn at your own pace so you can achieve your goals with material tailored to your individual proficiency level, interests, and time availability. I'm finally learning French after taking classes in high school and thrilled to finish what I'd started years ago. And my favorite part about Babbel is that it's dialogue-based. It helps me to actually practice conversations, and the speech recognition ensures I'm saying words correctement. So get talking with Babbel. I want you to learn another language, so I'm teaming up with Babbel to gift you 55% off subscriptions, but only for our listeners at Babbel.com/BlueWire. Get up to 55% off at Babbel.com/BlueWire, spelled BABBEL.com/BlueWire. Babbel.com/BlueWire. Rules and restrictions may apply.
Well, the Orioles on Monday are expected to reinstate catcher Adley Rutschman from the 10-day injured list and are expected to reinstate reliever Keegan Aiken from the 15-day injured list. Good news there, but a lot of uncertainty right now with the O's given the many prominent Orioles players who are trade candidates as we have arrived at the week of the 2025 MLB trade deadline, which is this Thursday, July 31st at 6 p.m. Eastern. Now, the O's over the weekend won 2 out of 3 games against the MLB-worst Colorado Rockies at Oriole Park at Camden Yards. Friday night, a 6-5 loss to the Rockies in a game in which the O's blew a 4-0 third-inning lead. But Saturday night, an 18-0 win over the Rockies in a game in which the O's scored 9 runs in the bottom of the 7th. And Sunday afternoon, a 5-1 win over the Rockies in a game for which the start was delayed for 28 minutes due to rain. And yes, the O's, Joe Angel, were back in the win column.
And the Orioles again in the win column.
Yes, Joe. The win column of the O's in MLB's 2025 regular season now are 47-58, third worst record in the American League. The Rockies in this regular season now are an MLB-worst 27-78. More on the O's winning 2 out of 3 games against the lowly Rockies over the weekend shortly. But the O's on Friday afternoon announced having traded reliever Gregory Soto to the New York Mets for 2 pitching prospects in Wellington Arocena and Cameron Foster. Arocena was the Mets' number 19 overall prospect per MLB Pipeline. Soto is on an expiring contract. The O's on July 30th, 2024 announced having traded 2 minor league pitchers, including starting pitcher Seth Johnson, to the Philadelphia Phillies for Soto, and the trade did not work out for the O's. So Soto for the O's just was not that good. He for the O's over parts of 2 regular seasons had the following stats: 68 games, 54 innings, ERA of 4.33, whip of 1.37, strikeouts per 9 innings of 10.8. But Orioles Executive Vice President and General Manager Mike Elias now has made 2 trades of relievers in the lead up to this deadline. The O's on July 10th announced having traded reliever Brian Baker to the Tampa Bay Rays for the number 37 overall pick in the 2025 MLB draft, or what was a pick in the competitive balance round A of the draft. And the O's with that number 37 overall pick took outfielder Slater DeBrun out of a high school in Oregon. You wonder who else the O's may trade over the next few days. The O's have a lot of significant players on expiring contracts. I think the O's should be looking to trade all of these guys, but you have starting pitchers Zach Eflin, Charlie Morton, and Tomoyuki Sagano on expiring contracts. You have reliever Sir Anthony Dominguez on an expiring contract. You have the Orioles' lone all-star this season, first baseman / outfielder Ryan O'Hearn on an expiring contract. You have a longtime Orioles favorite, outfielder Cedric Mullins on an expiring contract. The Orioles' offense in the team winning 2 out of 3 games against the Rockies over the weekend was very good. The 6-5 loss to the Rockies on Friday night, the O's scored 5 runs and totaled 10 hits, which were 4 home runs, 3 doubles and 3 singles. The O's did work just 1 walk and did go just 1 for 6 with runners in scoring position. The 18-0 win over the Rockies on Saturday night, the O's scored 18 runs, totaled 18 hits, worked 6 walks, and went a scorching 11 for 19 with runners in scoring position. The 18 hits were 3 home runs, 4 doubles, and 11 singles. And the 5-1 win over the Rockies on Sunday afternoon, the O's scored 5 runs on just 5 hits, which were a home run, a double, and 3 singles. The O's worked 4 walks and went 2 for 6 with runners in scoring position. 2 players who were especially good offensively in this series were Tyler O'Neill and Kobe Mayo. Tyler O'Neill can play. He just can't stay healthy, but he can hit. The 6-5 loss to the Rockies on Friday night, O'Neill, as the Orioles starting right fielder and number 4 batter, went 2 for 4 with a solo homer and a double. The 18-0 win over the Rockies on Saturday night, O'Neill, as the Orioles starting DH and number 7 batter, went 2 for 2 with a 2-run homer, an RBI single, and 2 walks. In the 5-1 win over the Rockies on Sunday afternoon, O'Neill, as the Orioles starting DH and number 4 batter, went 1 for 3 with a 2-run homer and a walk. And then Kobe Mayo, the 6-5 loss to the Rockies on Friday night, Mayo, as the Orioles starting first baseman and number 7 batter, went 1 for 3 with a solo homer. The 18-0 win over the Rockies on Saturday night, Mayo came off the bench to pinch hit and play first base. He went 1 for 1 with a pinch walk and a 2-run double, and both the walk and the 2-run double came in that Orioles 9-run 7th. And the 5-1 win over the Rockies on Sunday afternoon, Mayo, as the Orioles starting first baseman and number 7 batter, went 1 for 3 with a double. Maybe, finally, Kobe Mayo is getting regular playing time. The O's took him in the 4th round of the 2020 MLB draft. This is his age 23 season. He's considered one of the Orioles' most promising young players, but he had been languishing as a reserve. The O's, in winning 2 out of 3 games against the Rockies over the weekend, got good starting pitching in 2 of the 3 games. Now, the 6-5 loss to the Rockies on Friday night, Dean Kramer struggled. He allowed 5 runs in 6 innings. He gave up 6 hits, which were 2 home runs, a double, and 3 singles. He issued 2 walks. He recorded 5 strikeouts. He threw a lot of strikes, 92 pitches, 68 strikes, just 24 balls, but still very disappointing for Kramer, especially considering the opposition, the worst team in MLB. But the 18-0 win over the Rockies on Saturday night, Trevor Rogers was great again. This is unreal what's happening with this guy. He tossed 7 scoreless innings. He gave up just 1 hit, which was a single. He had 5 strikeouts versus 1 walk. He threw a lot of strikes, 96 pitches, 65 strikes, just 31 balls. Nothing with the O's over the last few weeks has been more stunning than the excellence of Trevor Rogers. He now at the major league level this regular season, 8 starts, ERA of 1.49, whip of 0.79. And the 5-1 win over the Rockies on Sunday afternoon, Tomoyuki Sagano had his best outing in nearly 2 months. It was good to see this. He allowed 1 run in 6 innings with 8 strikeouts. He gave up 4 hits, which were a home run and 3 singles. He issued 2 walks. He threw a lot of strikes, 91 pitches, 63 strikes, just 28 balls. So this to me was Sagano's best outing since the Orioles' 5-1 win at the Seattle Mariners on June 3rd. Sagano in that game, 1 run in 7 innings with 5 strikeouts versus 1 walk. Is Tomoyuki Sagano about to be traded? And the Orioles bullpen in the team winning 2 out of 3 games against the Rockies over the weekend was good. The 6-5 loss to the Rockies on Friday night, 3 Orioles relievers combined to allow 1 run in 3 innings. The 18-0 win over the Rockies on Saturday night, 2 Orioles relievers combined for 2 scoreless innings. And the 5-1 win over the Rockies on Sunday afternoon, 3 Orioles relievers combined for 3 scoreless innings. Yadier Cadeau tossed a scoreless top of the 7th, despite issuing back-to-back 1-out walks. Andrew Kittredge tossed a scoreless top of the 8th with 2 swinging strikeouts despite giving up a leadoff single. And Sir Anthony Dominguez tossed a scoreless top of the 9th despite giving up a leadoff single. But are Dominguez and many others about to be traded? Also, the O's on Friday evening announced having return catcher Chadwick Trump from his minor league rehab assignment and having reinstated him from the 10-day injured list, which he had been on since July 1st due to a lower back strain. But the O's also announced that Trump had elected free agency in lieu of accepting an outright assignment to AAA Norfolk. Next up for the O's is a 4-game series against the Toronto Blue Jays at Oriole Park at Camden Yards. 4 games over 3 days. Game 1, Monday evening at 6:35. Zach Eflin will be the Orioles starting pitcher. Game 2, Tuesday afternoon at 12:35 in Game 1 of a doubleheader. Game 3, Tuesday evening at 6:35 in Game 2 of a doubleheader. Charlie Morton will start 1 game in the doubleheader. The Orioles' other starting pitcher in the doubleheader is to be announced. And Game 4, Wednesday afternoon at 12:35. Dean Kramer will be the Orioles starting pitcher. And that'll do it for you and me for now. Keep the feedback coming. You can hit me up on X at Al Galdi. You can email me the Al Galdi podcast at yahoo.com. Tuesday show, episode 1121. We'll have plenty for you on the Commanders. Also on Tuesday's show, I'll talk Nationals and Orioles. The Nats are at the Houston Astros Monday night at 8:10 in Game 1 of a 3-game series. The O's are home to the Toronto Blue Jays Monday evening at 6:35 in Game 1 of a 4-game series. Have a great rest of your Monday, and I'll talk to you on Tuesday.
I really don't need anybody to set the tone for me. I set the tone for myself.